Hello there, I'm Jill Valley. On the same day, the University of Montana Grizzly football team left for Frisco, Texas to play in a national championship game, the first since 2009. Word came to Grizz Nation that legendary Grizzly football coach Don Reed passed away at the age of 90. Now, Don Reed was the coach who took that team to a national championship win, the first one ever, back in 1995. He is a legend in Grizzly football. And back then, after he announced his retirement, we put together a half-hour special called A Decade with Don. We would like to rebroadcast that for you right now.
This place has so many memories. It's been my second home here for 10 years plus. I have so many things I can recall being in here, looking in the stands, the stadium being full, my wife sitting right up behind the bench. You feel the climate in here, the noise level, the band playing, our fight song. This stadium it consumes me with memories and feelings of that are so positive of the things that have been done here. I think as long as I live, I'll see the stadium vividly and see the various things that have happened in the years and the tenure that I've been here.
After 37 years in the coaching ranks, Don Reed is opening a new chapter in his life. The national championship trophy he brought home last December is something tangible to show for his last 10 years at the Grizzly helm. But it's the intangibles like friendship, leadership, and memories that Reed will take with him and also leave behind. In the next half hour, we will relive some of those moments in A Decade with Don, the man behind the coach. Anybody who's had first-hand encounter with Don Reed knows the positive influence he's had on the university's football program and community. But it didn't come easy. He had to do some convincing.
First thing we felt we had to do was to sell internally what we wanted to do to the people that were going to touch us and we were going to touch. And I'm talking first the players, and then our administration, our school, and then our alumni, and branch out from there. And keep in mind, it was very revolutionary when we came here. I'm sure we were a maverick. Everywhere we've been has kind of been that way, because when you say we're going to win or lose throwing the football, and we don't know, and the other statement, of course, that I always have made, I don't know if we're going to win all our games, but we're going to try to be exciting and have fun. And keep in mind, when we came here, there was a wishbone attack, which is about as 180 degrees as you can get on football, and so we had to sell a different concept of how to try to win and how to recruit and convince people to come to the ball games and those kinds of things. Our first goals in the first 5 years was to get better every week. That was the first thing we said. Let's get better every time we play, and then have a winning season. The idea, we beat Montana State. We tried to graduate in what we were doing.
The other phase of Reed's blueprint for the program came in his second 5 years at Montana.
Somewhere in there we said, get to the finals thing, and then it was when, so there was a progression there. But the last 2 years, we put ourselves on a limb and said, let's win the national championship in our goals. So it converted from converting people to our philosophy and to our ideology, to our technology, and then selling and trying to convince people the importance of facilities and getting facilities, to winning games, to trying to master a national championship. So I guess that's the graduation.
The team's short-range goals focused on that week's opponent and put to the test during the game. But the Copper and Gold received a little assistance with their vision, coming right before seeing the light at the end of the tunnel.
This sign has a great history to it. There was a player here named Jason Ray, and he was one of the first Grizzlies we had in our program that I guess was of a extra emotional type player, and he felt like the Newt Rockne thing was important, and that getting ready and all of that, and he wanted to have something just before we went on the field that would help the players. So he came to us and said, if I get this done, can we put that up somewhere? And I said, that's a great idea. He said, well, can we put it up at the end of the tunnel? I said, you bet. So kids, every game, when they come out this tunnel, It's absolutely a religious thing. If a kid didn't do this, boy, he'll come back, or the players will send him back because they're all watching. They have to hit. In here is the name of the opponent that we play. And part of this sign and this and all of the preparation that's gone inside is tied in with that name. It's always focused. This is the last focus. All those things go down to Montana State or whatever it is that goes on their mind. So they hit that thing. It's always been I'm the last guy out, mostly because I'm slow and decrepitated. But as I watch these kids, and it's a very religious thing, some every week will hit it with both hands. Some will hit it with their left hand. Some, I mean, it's a tradition, and it's an individual thing, but they're all going to touch that sign. And I only once or twice I've seen it when someone has missed it. They hit over here, somebody will grab me, he'll come back. They'll be going on the field. It's quite a deal from the inside out looking at it. The first time we came into the stadium to play a game, I can remember standing in the tunnel waiting for directions from the official to come out to the game. It's supposed to be 3.5 minutes before the game starts, and we're in the tunnel, and there wasn't a sound in the tunnel. And my feeling was, are we not ready? I didn't know what that feeling really meant at that time. And then when the kids came through the doors, I could see a transition from absolute silence and deep meditation or whatever it is to they went wild. The kids just went crazy as they came on the field, and the fans picked that up, or maybe they caused it, I don't know, but I know that there was a relationship that was born right then at that moment in our first game here. It was a wonderful, wonderful, I remember that more than any other thing I can think about in the stadium.
Is there a game that that comes to mind that maybe the Reno game, or what?
There is a game. Reno would be one, but another one was in this stadium. A guy named Greg Nygren, playing the right corner for us as we look at the field, looking south, and we're ahead of University of Idaho, I think 3 or 4 points, and they're in a drive, and they're about our 8-yard line, and John Freeze, who's playing in the NFL now, threw a quick sideline pass to that side, and Greg Nygren picked it off to ensure the win, and he went about 90-something yards for a touchdown. But what it did was, it was the beginning of several wins against Idaho, who had been a team that Montana struggled with over the years. It was an outstanding team, dominating NC2A Division I AA in our conference, and I really believe it was a big one of the big turning points in our program. I remember winning again, going back to Idaho, if I could go back to Idaho again, at Idaho, to win the conference in a big football game. I mean, it was a big one. They were a very good team, and I felt we were a very good football team. And the kids just made things happen in just a tremendous performance. I remember winning the conference then, and we didn't have to win even the next week, which was our rival against Montana State. What a great year that was, and I think that was a big one.
Another foe of Reed's that conjures up some memories, all fond of course, the interstate showdown with the Bobcats of Montana State.
That game is big, and there was within those 10 times that we played them, there were some bigger games than others, and they're bigger because of the challenge. Either maybe we had more injuries, or the weather conditions. We're a throwing team, and I felt like we're playing into wind or frozen field or something involved. It seemed like in some of those games that were a little more even meaningful to win than perhaps the others, although every game being extremely big. And we went to Montana State in a terrible weather situation, and I was very, very worried. We had a quarterback most unknown of all, a guy named Werbelow. A lot of folks don't even remember who Werbelow was. Scott Werbelow, a great kid, and but he wasn't Brad Lebo, and he wasn't Grady Bennett, and he wasn't Dave Dickinson, and so on. And I really thought if there was going to be a game that of all ours, that as I look back now, that we had a chance going in to really have a tough time with it, was that one. And I remember going over there, and the thing that pleased me so much, I was so excited and happy about it, we blocked 4 punts in that game, which was a national record. 4 punts in that game all led to either scores or indirectly to a touchdown. If there was ever a game that was won by a team, I mean, it wasn't Dickinson throwing for 500 yards or Jody Farmer running for a bit. It was a team. That was the game. So I have to look at that one as a great win at Montana State. But there's been some other big moments too. And even last year, I thought 95, we're actually behind at half. I don't know if people realize that and remember back. Yeah, I probably do. We're battling for our lives, it seemed like, over there. They had a very respectable team playing hard, and credit to them. But our kids rallied and came back, and even though it may not have been as pretty, it may not have been as convincing, nonetheless, it was a great win because of the comeback. It's the first time, I believe, we'd ever been behind, I think, against the Montana State team. So that had to be another big moment in our rivalry with those guys.
During Don Reed's tenure at Montana, there always seemed to be a player or two who stepped up for each showdown. But there's one number that has consistently stuck out, number 37.
Just looking at that number, the history of the number 37, there is a long history there.
There is a long history of that number 37, Scott. You know, when we came here, I don't know if it started before we came here, to tell you the truth, but I know 37 started jumping out in our time here. And of course, guys that have worn it, Timmy Houck wore that thing, Todd Erickson wore that number, and Jason Crebo. So that took up the main block of time during our 10 years here, those guys in their 5-year spans. So it was an overlap. But we've had an agreement, I guess, to that number. And I don't know where that started either, to tell you the truth. One of our coaches probably, I don't know, that the guy that wears that number can pass that number on to the next. He can hand pick that guy. And it's been interesting to watch all these guys that have, because keep in mind, they're coming out of high school when they receive that number. This is not Timmy Houck that's developed it after he's been here 5 years or drafted to the NFL, or Todd Erickson that was the most valuable player in the Big Sky, or Jason Crebo, who is pro bound, we believe, NFL bound. When he got the number, we knew he was a good high school player. But isn't it interesting, the evolution of that number and who received that number?
Of course, one number that will never be worn again is number 15. The jersey retired at the end of last season to honor the 1995 1AA's most valuable player, the one worn by Dave Dickinson.
Did you ever imagine when you hit this kid out of Great Falls that he would accomplish the things that he has?
No, you know, there's no way, Scott, that I think anyone could predict the kind of things he did, unless it would be Dave Dickinson. He had a lot of confidence in himself. He was born with something inside, and that, whatever that is, intangible inside, was so big in Dave Dickinson that he overcame everything that's ever been in front of him, and not only that, but surpassed all the time, never being satisfied. And so his career is monumental in my life and in the lives, I think, of any that's seen Dave Dickinson play. He is so special. Like in coaching, you might get one of those if you're lucky in your career, and he certainly is that individual.
Dickinson played an important role his entire career at Montana, and his final season was no exception, leading the Grizzlies through the playoffs and into the national championship.
All the playoff games in this 95 season were big ones, and we gained momentum, even though maybe the scores didn't totally tell that picture. I really believe we did in this sense. In the early playoff games, of course, having 3 at home was a great advantage to us, but I felt confidence. We were able to play more. We felt good about the kids that we were playing. On the road, you're always nervous about many things, adjusting the field and temperature and climate. But at home, we played who we wanted and seemed like we could plan the games, the way a strategy and so on just worked fine. The weather cooperated with us, the injuries, so on. And so I felt we gained momentum and confidence. And about the time we had to go on the road in a very, very tough encounter at Marshall, because we knew how good they were at their facility with their crowd and in their setting. The other thing I would say that happened to us, Scott, last year, unlike any other years, is we felt it coming, but it really became very apparent to the fans. The defense came into their own, and so although we had many good years with our defense playing prominent roles, never was it more appropriate and needed than in that final game when our offense played solid, but maybe not as good as some of the other games, but our defense came on. So it was so gratifying to see the confidence generated in the team, the defense and the offense and the defense. It was a complete team thing. I guess the Marshall game jumps out more and more, but the others have an effect upon it.
Here come the Grizzlies of Montana.
The 1995 championship game between the Grizzlies and the Thundering Herd of Marshall would be the last game Reed would coach at the Copper and Gold Helm. And he made the best of it, jumping out to an early lead, but having to come back and make the decision, letting the game ride on the foot of junior kicker Andy Larson.
We were in a drive, and I remember we called timeout and to make sure we all were on the same page. And I know Larson was trying to, in his own way, figure out whether we're playing for the field goal or we're going to try to score. And percentages are with us, even though we're a high-scoring team and did kick the field goal. But I didn't want to add more pressure to Larson. So the thing that we told Dickinson on when we're gathered there was, Dave, we're going to position ourselves for a field goal, but we're still trying to get a touchdown out of this thing, but don't throw an interception. I thought we were in the right position. I thought we had the right angle on the football. We were on the goalpost. We were close enough. The wind wasn't a factor. There was no sun as a factor. We had the best holder in America, in my opinion. We had the best snapper. I mean, I felt very good about our ability to do it. I think it was maybe an hour and a half after the game before I maybe won the championship, felt it and believed it. It was very busy times doing these things, and you were thrilled, but yet it was a surface feeling. I think it started later, and actually on the way home on the plane and then the rally here and all the things that happened after, I think that really made it surface, and also you got a deeper feeling of how other people felt. I mean, you're so consumed with what you're doing, you don't really feel other people until later. And of course, that's still gone on to a great extent. A lot of lives were touched. A lot of people were thrilled and happy about all this, and some wonderful, wonderful memories.
Football has brought an incredible amount of satisfaction and accolades to Reed that he wouldn't trade for the world. And one of those times would be the opportunity he has had to spend with his special teams coach, his son, Bruce.
And he came in and he said, I think I really want to coach. And I just about hit the floor. And I really tried every way I knew how, and my wife, in a subtle way, to discourage him from going into coaching, to tell you the truth. I love coaching, and I'm proud he's in coaching. But I really thought maybe he would find his niche in a different direction. And anyway, the long story short, I really thought I could run him out of the coaching business, and we put him to work on a voluntary basis. First year was every rotten job that could be given, he got it. And at the end of the year, so I remember asking him about how he's doing. He thought it was really enjoying it, loving it, and so that led him to a part-time job, graduate assistant part-time job, and he kind of worked his way up through the ranks. And even when we came to Missoula in his first year, he wasn't full-time. So he really paid his dues, and I didn't make it easy on him. So many ways. Bruce has been the last to get something, whether it be an automobile for our coaches to recruit in. All coaches were hired long after him were having, I always tried to not pay any extra attention to him, and that's been hard. But he's understood it, I think, and he's really a tremendous coach. He's been fun to watch develop. I said to somebody not too many years back, I taught him all I knew, and now I'm learning from him, and I really mean that.
Some may say Reed wanted to retire while he was on top of the game. Winning the national championship and earning the 1AA Coach of the Year award would definitely be the time. But Reed explains there's more to it than that. He's looking forward to being with his wife and family once again.
The job, if you do it right, I believe, cheats your family. I don't believe, either cheat the program or you cheat your family, and I guess I chose not knowing, maybe knowing, I don't know. The program was always first, particularly as my wife saw it. It is so time-consuming to coach. It really and truly is. I can't see my idea of, for years and years and years, of of spending time with my family was take my wife to a clinic, and it really probably had a major effect on the kids, our kids, because she raised them. I mean, to be very, very honest, and looking back and criticizing myself, I did very little. In fact, believe it or not, in our first, I'm going to say 20 years or 25, it was not uncommon to see her at practice. Not because she wanted to see what I was doing, but she learned about the kids, and she would take our little kids when they were very little. In fact, I can remember handing Bruce, who now is of course, he's a big old honk, but over the fence when he was about a year or two, over to one of the players, and he's running around and getting in the way in the drills, and so we really did share some things with the kids. But now I've got grandkids that I'm just very anxious to be part of their life, or to see them grow and enjoy that and be part. I don't know, maybe that's but anyway. And then my wife too, I feel like maybe I can make up, I hope, some time with her and doing things that we want to do that she thinks important. Our family is, I'm so, my dad was a professional player, my brothers were coaches, his brothers were professional players. I don't have anybody in my family that weren't athletic. I mean, I was raised in the ballpark, and I don't know anything else. I mean, it's the way it's been since I was a little guy. But my wife is in fine arts. I mean, she loves the plays, and she loves music, and she's into all of these things, and really that side of our life is just, to a great extent, has been cheated. And so I'm going to get into that best I can. Of course, my idea of music is country music, and I don't know that she's totally into that. So there'll be some compromising, I'm sure. But it has been hard on her, and this is going to give us an opportunity. I guess that's what I'm saying here. I realize everything in life is degrees. You can't, and that's what makes it, I guess, life great, is the different personalities. But you hope, I think, as a coach, that you touch each and every one, and somehow the degrees are going in the right direction, and they're affecting in a positive way, and they understand about commitment, and they understand about loyalty, and they understand about teamwork and association and with others, and the importance of what they can do for. So I hope that the game kind of teaches that, but I hope that we've reinforced that. It's a wonderful, like I said, it's a wonderful experience to have, and a wonderful memory to have, to feel that way, whether it's totally true or not, that you had a bearing on their lives, every one of the kids you've touched, and that bearing has had something to do with them being a more positive person.